Hello, good afternoon. I am DeQuay Wilson, your announcer on the Wave Your Grades Motivational Talk program, featuring American students dedicating academic excellence to American veterans and our veterans, thanking our students for being serious about their education. Your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information on bridging the five wealth gaps or learning to how to become a partner, please contact Willie Norman at 816 525 8708 or by email at wnorman, the number 2 at att.net. Now, with today's very special guest, here is our Wave Your Grades host, civilian, Mid American Hall of Fame educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our announcer, DeQuay Wilson, actually our producer, announcer, co-host, and engineer, DeQuay Wilson, bringing the Wave Your Grades program on KUAW.org. That is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. KUAW.org. My name is Carl Boyd. I am your host every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m., located in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. We are so grateful for the opportunity to bring you this program every Saturday. Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org and executive director, president of the Black Family Awareness Technology Association, and we have a very special guest today. As a matter of fact, not only are we welcoming Rebecca Bradley this morning, but we are thanking her for her patience. We generally look forward to having her on the first Saturday of every month, and we had such a special show that she deferred to our then guests. And now we get an opportunity to say to Rebecca Bradley, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here, and welcome to Wave Your Grades. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rebecca Bradley. Hello to you, and welcome to Wave Your Grades. No, I didn't hear you at first. I think I'm hearing you now. Here is Rebecca Bradley.
Okay, I said thank you, Mr. Boyd. I am glad to be on the show once again.
Well, we appreciate you so much for your consistent effort and for what you do, not only for veterans, but what you do for the community at large, families of veterans, and those of us who are blessed. I am a civilian, so it gives me a great honor to welcome you once again. When you did make a brief announcement on that past occasion, one of the things that was very important to you, and we'd like to have you repeat now at your leisure, as it were, is the importance of being able to be tested during this pandemic. Rebecca Bradley, please let us know what's going on.
Yes, what we have is the VA taking care of their veterans. So they do have testing available for veterans. A couple of weeks ago, I went to go get tested. All you have to do is call your care provider. They have a drive-through tent at the VA, and I think at various sites, and they will test you. At least that was the case a couple of weeks ago. The VA calls periodically their veterans to see if they have the COVID, if they've been around the COVID, so they're staying on top of it, and they want to make sure that our veterans get the care that they need. So every veteran that's listening to me, go get tested. Don't sit around thinking that you're sick, and you're probably not sick, but get tested and it give you peace of mind.
One of the
Okay.
one of the things that's important to some who may be new to Kansas City, most know precisely where you're talking about when you say the VA, but what is the location?
4801 Linwood Boulevard. And they're sitting right on top of what we would call a hill. So get on over there right here in Kansas City. And then they also have satellite offices. Those satellite offices are available, and I know they were doing testing also in Shawnee. So the veterans, it's available. And then I'm certain if you're enrolled in the system, you will get treated. If you're not enrolled, check to see if you're eligible to get enrolled so you can get treated.
The
And
veterans.
a little later, I
Mhm.
want to discuss the mail and medicine that's being delivered.
Oh, wow. That is extremely important. Before you go, for
Mhm.
those who are veterans, if they show up with the requisite identification, they can get tested. Do they need to call ahead of time, or can they just go right to the VA?
Well, what they need to do is call their primary care provider.
Okay, you
When
did
I
say
was
that.
heading to St. Luke's to get a test, I couldn't get it tested, so I called the VA, and they told me, just call your VA. They told me they were going to contact my care provider, and for me to just get on over there. By the time I got over there, my primary care provider had sent my name down to the drive-through testing center, and I was able to get a test. So I was on the road. I called the VA. They sent my name down there. When I got to Kansas City VA, they had the tent, and I drove straight on through and got the test. So that, again, was about 2 weeks ago. So I would suggest that they call to see if they're still doing it. But I am certain that veterans can get tested for the COVID-19.
And Rebecca Bradley of the National Association of Black Veterans, and your being a representative in the state of Missouri, you are not saying that those who have any indication of symptoms get tested. You're saying all veterans get tested.
Most definitely, all veterans need to get tested, particularly if they're coming down with symptoms or if you think you've been around somebody that was exposed. So we need that.
Now, we are hearing of various versions of something called testing. How long does it take to get results, or is there a standard time, or it varies?
It took me 3 days.
Oh,
I went there on a Friday, and Monday they called me and told me that my test was negative.
excellent. Congratulations. That is absolutely good news in two ways. One, that you were able to get the results in 3 days, and of course, two, that your results were negative. So,
Hmm.
if I am a transplant from another state, I have just moved to Missouri, I can still use that very same procedure, call my primary care physician, and then go to the VA.
Yes, particularly if they are enrolled.
Oh, yes.
Because what they have to do is make sure that they communicate with the physician at their other place that they were at,
Now,
and it'll get done.
one of the things that you have done so well for our listeners is help family members of veterans understand their eligibility for various benefits. Does this in any way apply to family members?
No,
Okay, this
veterans
is
only.
all right. And the VA, obviously, that is the Veterans Administration. So that is extremely important. Throughout the program, we like to give your contact information just in case somebody missed it or have other questions for you. How do they get in touch with Rebecca
Okay,
Bradley?
my cell phone, my personal cell phone for my job is 816-352-2535.
Okay, 816 352.
352-2535.
Outstanding. We thank you so very much for that. If we need to revisit that particular announcement, we shall. But you also said that, and we are so, I look at DeQuay, our producer, announcer, co-host, and engineer, and it always puts a smile on her face when I mention the 6888, those women who are responsible for mail. And now Rebecca Bradley, veteran the issue of mail has come up again, but outside of the political considerations, we don't need to visit that. Please talk to us, about the importance of mail to military personnel.
Okay. I want to start off with the veterans because a lot of us receive our medication by mail.
Okay.
And I was listening to people on television that were discussing the VA and the mailing system. So the VA is telling people to order your medications in advance. Generally, they like for you to order like maybe 30 days before you run out. So you need to maybe do 45 days if it's possible.
Okay, yes.
Give some delay time in there. And the VA, they're pretty good at getting you your medication. So whatever date you generally put in for your medication to be mailed to you, add 2 weeks. I would say add 2 weeks prior to that.
That, again, is so very important when you talk about getting tests. Very important. Certainly when you talk about medicine, very important.
Right.
So our prayer is that those who are listening, please take seriously what you are talking about. And
a second option, too, is the VA do allow you to pick up your medication.
Oh, okay.
Now, those of us that live close by, that's not a problem. But we do have a lot of people in the rural areas or far out that have to get their medications mailed to them. But picking it up is always an option.
Now, have you heard of any difficulties or problems?
No, not yet. It's just sometimes it's a little slow. If it's your medication, I would definitely stay on top of that. But sometimes they also mail prosthetic devices.
Oh, yes.
And that you'll probably have to follow up to make sure that they've ordered it and see what the process is on the mail. And then sometimes we're looking at letters that we probably should have received from the VA regional office. We submit claims and they send back the answers by mail.
Oh.
So if you think it's taking too long, whereas you should have received something by mail, they can call the VA regional office. That number is 1-800-827-1000. And when they call, they want to ask, what is the status of my claim? And they can let the veteran know if they have mailed out a response.
Let me remind those who are listening that this is Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org. My name is Carl Boyd, privileged to be your host every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. DeQuay Wilson is our announcer, producer, co-host, and engineer. Our very, very special guest this afternoon is veteran Rebecca Bradley, and she is talking about some things that are extremely important, particularly during this moment of pandemic. So, Rebecca Bradley, we have heard you talk about the real importance of getting tested for COVID-19 and the importance of understanding that you need to order your meds 30 days in advance, and Rebecca Bradley says in as much as 30 days is recommended, make it 45.
Yes.
Extremely important. And other considerations, please.
Yes, and this message is not only for the veterans but the caregivers, because a lot of times the caregivers,
Yes.
they are really the ones that are assisting these veterans.
Absolutely, and I would suspect that as concerned as we are about all things negative, meaning not good, there are some positive, some heartwarming, some stories of courage and commitment among caregivers, I would suspect.
Mm-hmm. The caregivers, they are really, I want to say, the rock or the backbone of helping the VA with the veterans. And with those caregivers, they need to inquire into whether or not they're eligible to receive pay as a caregiver of these veterans. So that's something that uh, a lot of people know, and maybe some veterans caregivers may not know. And a lot of that is determined on what the veteran's eligibility is. If the veteran is a wartime veteran, then that veteran is eligible for what we call pension, and they could use some of that pension to um, go to the caregiver. And those who are receiving compensation, if they're eligible also for what we call aid and attendance, the aid and attendance additional dollars would go towards the caregiver who is taking care of them.
You know,
So we want to make sure that they know, the caregivers know, to get that medication early and see if you're eligible to receive any money as a caregiver.
Rebecca Bradley, this is so enlightening. This is so important. And let me tell you why. As we listen to Rebecca Bradley, National Association of Black Veterans, you are talking about testing. You're talking about meds. And now you're even talking about the finances attendant thereto. There is so much information. And we have learned, and we will hear it repeated over and over again, that those things that impact communities of a negative nature, unfortunately, are even more impactful in Black and Hispanic communities. While indeed your message goes to all cultures, all races, all ethnicities, do you have a message of particular urgency for people of color?
Yeah, I want to tell the people of color, stay encouraged, because a lot of times it seems as though, and there's data behind it, that we do not always get rated at the degree of
Hmm.
other non-minority veterans. But there is an appeal process, and in that appeal process, you stay within the suspense dates that they give you, and eventually you can work that appeal process all the way to the courts. And if you are due benefits, but they have incorrectly made decisions, the court oftentimes, certain cases so that it should have been shut and closed, they will overturn it so the veterans can get due process and get approved for award. But you also got to make sure you have a veteran service officer who is just not a paper pusher, okay? Because it's very important that you get a veteran service officer who is truly concerned about getting your paperwork in and meeting suspense dates and writing good arguments for you.
Oh, now, once again, please give your contact information.
Okay. I work for the Missouri Veterans Commission, and I'm working from home. But my personal cell that they gave me to work from home, the number is 816-352-2535. And I have my computer, I have my printer here at home, and I work with the veterans. I send them out paperwork, they send it back to me, and I make sure that I get it in, and or either we can submit claims electronically, So we have a system in place where I can continue to work with veterans.
Now, one of the things that's extremely important, and as you talk more about things of a legal nature. Rebecca Bradley might not be your attorney, but you're certainly an advocate. So if there are those who think that they might need a case to go to court, can they call you for advice as to how to pursue that?
Yes, and we also we get trained by attorneys
Oh,
who tell us and teach us what we need to look out for and how to advocate for our veterans. Excuse me. We can take the veterans up to the Board of Veterans Appeals Court, and then from there, if we feel that we were right and we did all that we can, we will refer them on to an attorney who will take them to the Court of Veterans Appeals.
now as we
And
look,
then those attorneys, if they feel it's right, they can take those cases all the way up to the Supreme Court.
now I am sitting at home. I am a veteran. I've served in Afghanistan, and I have had enough suspicious experiences that I don't think that I should even pursue this. Now, of course, that is not the case for me. I'm actually a civilian. But speaking in terms of those who have a reluctance, because one, I'm not sure I should trust the system, or two, you just mentioned an attorney. I cannot afford an attorney. What would you say to that particular bit?
Well, they would start off working with the Veteran Service Officer. And the Missouri Veterans Commission works with attorneys out of Washington, D.C. If the attorneys review the case and they feel that that veteran should have gotten approved, they work with them pro bono.
There you go.
But then, too, you have some attorneys locally that will work with veterans, but they cannot get paid by the veterans. The veteran don't have to pay them, basically, until they get approved. And when they get approved, the attorney will only get 20%. And the VA will send that attorney a check. So it's like the veteran, if you want to get an attorney, make sure it's a good attorney, not someone that just want to take your case and never answer your phone call when you want to do follow-up.
Yes.
Because you have those type of attorneys too. So, but a lot of them are knowledgeable, and then some of them are not knowledgeable. Again, you want someone that is not a paper pusher and say, get away from me, you bother me, but someone that you can call and get a follow-up on your case.
That is so very good. And by the way, using a political reference, but not taking it into the political realm. And we should also always make the disclaimer that the views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of KUAW.org or its personnel. But the political reference that I just want to use is we have heard people say that we thought 2008, the election of President Barack Obama, all things race were satisfied and in order. And I would ask Rebecca Bradley, in as much as it is the National Association of Black Veterans, if there are areas where we still have a way to go in order to become equal as far as our status is concerned.
Well, I'm a Christian, so I have to answer that from a Christian point
Praise
of view.
God.
You know, God said there's no respecter of persons.
Yes.
And he gives people a choice. And you're going to always find people who choose to do wrong. But I believe that God is in control, and God will lead you to a person who is not a paper pusher. He will lead your paperwork it will land on the desk of the right person. So uh, that is something that, regardless of race, across board, people are going to get discriminated against, because if it's not classism, it's sexism or racism or some type of schism.
Yes.
But Jesus will make sure, that he's going to take care of his people. God is going to make sure that he take care of his people. So that's what I have to say on that.
Well, once again, I will talk about the fact that we are in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri, and Rebecca Bradley is available to veterans at 816-352-2535. Now, Rebecca Bradley, have you seen your ilk, someone in your capacity, in other areas across the United States of America? Because the service that you offer, the service that you deliver is so critical and you do it so well. How are your counterparts doing in other cities across America?
Well, I really can't say. I had went to a conference when they came here to Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them like my politics, the way, not my politics, but the way I work, my work ethic. I guess
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And but it's one thing I learned is this: regardless of race, color, or gender, people are the same. You got your good, you got your bad, you got your ugly. But I also learned that all politics is local. So here in Kansas City, I try to do the best I can
Mm-hmm.
with what I have available to us. So that's why friends like you keep me in a position where I can reach out to others. But yes, we
Thank
do
you.
have people who just there for the job or just there for the money. But, God will again lead people to someone who's really going to help you.
Let me ask you if you don't mind staying through a brief announcement, because I am eminently interested in how those of us who are civilians can help you in your cause. Is that all right?
All
Can you?
right.
Okay,
That
thank you
will
so
work.
very much. Let me turn it
Okay.
over to our announcer, DeQuay Wilson.
Your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information on becoming a partner or learning to bridge the 5 wealth gaps, please contact Willie Norman at 816-525-8708, or you may reach him by email at wnorman2@att.net. Now, Wave Your Grades is back with our host, Carl Boyd. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson.
So very much, DeQuay, and DeQuay may indeed have some questions and or comments of her own. And Rebecca Bradley, you were saying that you thank us for doing this program, but let me tell you in no uncertain terms, and I mean this sincerely, that the credibility you give us being a consistent guest on the program is immeasurable. So we thank you. And for those who are listening who happen not to be military personnel, past or present, how can we, beyond a radio program, but how can we support what you are doing and support our relatives who are in the military?
Okay. The best way to support the veteran is to stay informed, because knowledge is power. Knowledge will take you places. Knowledge will open doors for you. And we need to make sure that whenever I have a lunch and learn, be there so I can educate veterans as well as their dependents on what's available for the veterans and how to access it. Because if you don't know what's out there, you don't know what questions to ask, if you don't know what's available for you, because there is a lot of benefits that I myself, after being in this job for 14 years, still learning about, veterans benefits, particularly when it comes to taking care of veterans. I had a veteran that called me the other day and said, Rebecca, I got approved for my walk-in tub, and then I
Ooh.
know that you can get your house fitted if you're handicapped. And there are a lot of other benefits. You can get someone to come in and take care of you, like I was saying earlier, on aid and attendant. But if a civilian, if you know a veteran, refer them to me, and I will ensure that I educate that veteran on how to access their benefits. Knowledge is power. Keep yourself knowledgeable. Make sure you refer veterans to me, as I am the state of Missouri Minority Veterans Coordinator. I had told my cousin who was helping, whose neighbor was a Korean War veteran, and he felt that veteran was not getting his just due. And I listed everything that he should be getting. He gave it to the man's wife. The man's wife took it to his doctor and listed it off. And that doctor said, "And who told you that?" And he said,
Aha.
"Well, let me ask you this. Can my husband, get all of this?" And that doctor said yes. And
Wow.
so there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. And if churches can open up the doors for me after the COVID to come in and do presentations,
Ooh,
because
good.
knowledge is power. Knowledge will take you forward. And also, as being a part of National Association for Black Veterans, our logo is creating positive lifestyles for veterans. And as a Christian, I believe what God do for one, He will do for another. And it takes a village.
This is so encouraging. And by the way, let me indicate, in as much as you talked about a Korean, I'm sorry, the police action in Korea, veteran. My brother was Herbert William Boyd Jr.
Hmm.
February 8th, 1952, joined the Marines. He was discharged February 8th, 1955. When there was fighting in Korea, he was putting up communications lines looking at fire support below him. When he was discharged from the Marines in February of 1955, September of 1955, he confronted with me a group of riotous whites who were keeping me from being the first black at a high school, and stoned me as I was trying to make my way home. So when you talk about Korean veterans, I am a civilian, and just in case there's anybody who thinks that my dedication is disingenuous, I'm telling you that my brother who was a Marine, my brother who was an airman, my brother who was a soldier, all should respect that we have an obligation to them to make what their sacrifices were worth it. So I really, really appreciate. You know what? I want to do something that occurred to me that's a little lighter, and that is to ask someone whose name is Rebecca Bradley to tell me about someone who acquitted herself so excellently in the state of Mississippi, and let us know how that young person is doing.
You're talking about Mrs. Novia Bradley. Mrs. Novia Bradley is doing fine. She graduated with a degree in teaching, and she is a special education teacher. She's worked about a week now, and her class begins next week. And she has to face the challenge of other teachers trying to teach hybrid classes.
Wow.
Uh, some of her classes she'll have classes every day, students who come every day, but she will also have some students who will be taught online. So she's doing very well. The Lord has blessed her. She has a beautiful and large classroom, and
Wow.
I'm glad that she's working, and she's working in her field, and enrolled into the master's program. Again, knowledge is power. She wants to be able to do the best she can, working with God's children. She's working with those who have special needs.
Yes.
My
Yes.
daughter, when she went to school, we learned that she was dyslexic, and it was some challenges in the beginning, and they pulled her out and put her in special speech classes. They worked with her. This was in Grandview here, and she felt a need to continue to work with children such as herself, and that's what she's doing.
That's outstanding. And you and she are so modest, but she came to us and shared an accomplishment that she made, and she wore the banner that showed that. Would you just boast a little bit and bring us up
Well,
to
the
date?
Lord bless her. She was Miss 2019 Miss Black Mississippi USA,
Yes.
and she used her title, and she went into various schools to let young black children know that they are somebody, and that I can't remember her platform, but it was a platform that encouraged children to be the best that they can be and to stay encouraged regardless as to what anyone thought different of them. So she's doing good. She really enjoyed that year. It was a beautiful and blessed year for her.
That is
So now she's trying to get through the master's program and teach
yes.
at the same time.
Well, let me just say to Rebecca Bradley, 816-352-2535, that the mention of your daughter brought a smile to DeQuay Wilson's face. And one of the reasons that she and I both smile is because of her integrity and humility. She did not wear that crown as though she were boasting, but it is encouraging to young people to see her in that leadership role.
That's true, and I tried to encourage her to, just because 2019 has passed, she will always be Miss 2019, Miss Black USA, and she needs to continue to use it to encourage children, particularly young black girls.
Well, I'll tell you,
girls of color.
I'm sorry for interrupting that. Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying that she needs to continue to encourage young women of color to be the best that they can, even if it's a beauty queen.
Well, I'll tell you this. When we have problems in certain communities, or even if it is not the community, it might be in certain families, and a child does something wrong and children are not doing what they are supposed to do, there are people who say, see, that's the parents. That's why they're like that. Well, we need to say that when our children are doing magnificent as well. So she speaks well to her mom, and we are proud of both of you and appreciate being allowed to have that relationship.
Thank you.
Now, Rebecca Bradley, I had the occasion to ask of another guest, and I will put it in a similar way as I ask it of you. August 15th, 2021, 1 year from now, August 15, 2021, how does Rebecca Bradley view our society from the standpoint of optimism? And if you are, what makes you optimistic about a year from now and more?
I think I am optimistic because as horrible as this COVID-19 is, there is a brighter side or an upside to this COVID-19 because people are in a position where they can rest. God has told us to go home and rest.
Ooh.
And when you rest it,
yes,
and when you come back, you're in a position to give more, to excel, because you have taken that time to rest. And also during this time to rest, if we're learning at the same time, we can't help but be better citizens, be better at what we do. We should have taken advantage of online training and job creation, entrepreneurial creation. You know, because sometimes when you're down, you can look up, and God will minister to those who want to learn. Because we're always supposed to be in a position when we're learning something new and offering new things and helping each other.
This is
So, but I think, we can't help but come out better.
Well, you cannot imagine how encouraging that is, because it makes us mindful that sometimes as we travel along, if we will not stop a moment and take stock of ourselves, God has his way of saying, okay, well, let me stop you.
Yeah,
Let me.
yeah, and that is so true. You know, I read, I did some study. I had went to a Bible school, and you learn to read through the Bible. There was a period in time when God had told the children of Israel to let the land rest, and
Wow.
they did not, and that's what
Wow.
brought them into captivity. And so God is telling us, you know, this is a period of rest, and we're going to learn. And so when we come out of this, we should not only be rested, but we should have achieved accomplishments, you know. And, I really, really feel that those who have passed away should not have, but we don't know what God is doing,
Exactly.
so we just have to leave everything in God's hand, trust and believe Him, and let Him guide us.
This is so important for all of us, and perhaps particularly important for those in the military. I don't know if you remember, my Sunday school classmate was teacher Ron Miller, but
No,
Ron,
but I remember the name.
yes, he's a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
And when he talks about his experiences, which were harrowing to say the least, he calls upon the very vivid memory that he has of imagining his mother praying for him.
Oh, really?
And of course, it turns out that he was absolutely right. She was praying for him. And it is
Mm-hmm.
so important when you think about not just today, but what the military means and the various experiences, to have a relationship with the Lord.
Yes,
So
got
as
to
you
have that.
absolutely, uh,
And I just want to say I'm grateful that I'm able to say that on your radio show.
praise God. Thank you very much. And as a matter of fact, anytime you want, as many times as you want, for as long as you want. Because just had the occasion, my best friend, who passed away in April of 2019, spoke to his widow recently, and she just happens to be a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. So I was calling to congratulate her on a vice presidential nominee pick, who happened to be an AKA.
Mm-hmm.
Her email address happens to be O2B and AKA at gmail.com. But at any rate, among the things that we said to each other that I think you would agree, uh, is if we do not believe in and trust God now, I don't know when we ever will.
Yes, yes. Uh, so I guess I can switch from
Please.
veterans to subject of God.
Yes, yes, please.
I honestly believe that this is a trial run for end time, and it just amazes me how people at a time when we really need God in our lives, they're not turning to Him, you know. And so God is going to come in and show us that He is real, you know. And I'm just grateful, and we need to let others know that God is real, you know.
Now
He
this
reigns on the just as well as the unjust, and everybody just needs to believe, trust, and believe that He is real and that, you know, He knows what He's doing.
Well, let me tell you in no uncertain terms, we have the one phone line, but I could just see my wife dialing to call in to ditto what you just said. You sounded like my wife. And when we talk about the reality of the situation and being prayed up, but also to study, to show thyself
Mhm.
approved unto God, in that study, it would help us to orient ourselves towards an expectation that God is on his throne and
That's true.
has all things in his order, in his way. But I would certainly be foolish to try to speak for God, but what I can say is I need to be doing what I need to do. That is the proper thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes there are people who get into religious arguments, even faith or ecumenical arguments, and I turn to Matthew 22:26 to 30, or where it says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and soul and mind and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. But what is interesting about that, and by the way, that might be Matthew 28, so I don't want to
Mhm.
misquote, but it ends with, you can hang all the prophets on these two commandments: love God, love your neighbor.
Right.
So that I must be in the business of doing that on an ongoing basis, because
Right.
believe me, in this time of divisiveness, it would be easy to claim dislike and in some cases even hatred, which is unfortunate because he gives us the capacity to love, an unusual kind of love.
Mhm.
So to hear you say that, to hear you speak that way, when we are talking about the military, I am old enough to remember old John Wayne movies, and the whole idea behind the military was toughness, it was explosions, it was violence. But there are a number of your constituents who are depending upon the Lord and have no reluctance about saying precisely that.
Yes, we need young people too. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I gave my life to Christ when I was 23 when I went in the military.
Okay.
And when I went in there were people younger than me. They knew that Bible backwards and forwards. And I'm telling you, I got in there and I learned that Bible. And I thank God because as I get older, a lot of times you fall on your long term memory.
Yes. Yes. Well,
God is wonderful.
it's interesting. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old,
Hmm.
they shall not depart. And it does not say that they won't have some real challenges in between
That's true.
being a child and becoming old, but they will not depart because they have been taught so well.
Hmm.
And since we learn more by example than we do by instruction, we can observe your example and learn well, regardless of our military or non-military status.
Hmm.
So we can thank you for that, because that testimony is never, that is never, never, that is ne'er out of place.
Right.
We
Because what you do for Christ will last.
thank you, absolutely. And as we find our way near the end of the program, you know, it's a funny thing because when we were talking about the time that we deprived you of on that last occasion, I thought we need to come on and talk for at least a half an hour, and now we're coming to the end of the hour. And that is a true blessing and a testimony to what you have to give and what you have to say. So before we
Yeah.
finish on this day, what is or what are some things you need to leave us with?
Well, I want to go back to the beginning in case people tuned in after we got started.
Yes.
To have everyone, every veteran, if you think that you have COVID or come in contact with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
call the VA, get your primary care provider to send your name in to the lab or if they have a drive through so you can get your test. If you are a person who is civilian or a dependent taking care of a veteran, check to see if that veteran is eligible for what we call aid and attendance. That means that veteran is in need of your aid and in need of you attending to them. See if you're eligible to get paid by that veteran through his aid and attendance pension or compensation. So those are the two main things. Oh, yeah, and the third one, medication. Call in 30 to 45 days before your medication expires because the mail is slowing down. And we want to make sure that you get your medication. If you can't do that, walk in and get your medication.
This is so extremely important. And of course, before we go, contact information one more time.
816-352-2535. That's 2535. 352-2535. I am working from home. I have my computer. I have my cell phone number, which I just gave you. I have a printer. I have stamps. And we also send out things electronically so I can continue to work with veterans.
This is so good. And by the way, those who are interested in joining the particular organization that you represent or organizations general, you can lead them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are those who have that interest, call Rebecca Bradley. And
yes, call me and I'll give you we're working right now, National Association for Black Veterans. We are working via free telephone conference. And we're planning something for the fall, something that we can do social distancing and keep everybody safe.
This is so good. And by the way, speaking from a civilian orientation, let me ask that every civilian talk to the veterans in your family. Do not take it for granted that they already have this information. Ask about it, inform them, and if anybody feels, quote, ignorant, unquote, ignorant just means not knowing, not uninformed, just not knowing, and that's all right as long as you try to find out. So civilians, any veterans, any military personnel you have in your family, please have them contact our very special guest, whom we thank tirelessly and sincerely, Rebecca Bradley, 816-352-2535. Rebecca Bradley, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. God bless you all.
God bless you and yours.
Mm-hmm.
On Wave Your Grades, KUAW.org. My name is Carl Boyd, our announcer, our producer, our co-host, our engineer. DeQuay, we were talking a little earlier, that is Louis George Walker and I were talking about making sure that we get out on time. So we get an opportunity to hear not only the close, but a little bit of the theme song. And I've never gotten it quite right. I'm always too soon. And then there's that dead time, that awkward moment of, oh, so what do we say now? Or I do what I'm doing now and talk too much. And the timing is so good in terms of the way KUAW.org operates. As a matter of fact, since Louis George Walker is across the room, he's not on a microphone, I'll repeat what he tells me when I ask him this question. But I came in and you were on a conference call that included Cheryl Underwood, who, by the way, is a veteran. But let me repeat just some of the programs that are on KUAW.org. For instance, which is Wave Your Grades every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. The Truth Be Told. Purpose, Passion, and Power. And Real Talk with Brandon Ellington. As a matter of fact, saw him on a news conference. We're talking about the pandemic and the different things from his perspective. Oh, which is Sunday. And did you say Humanomics? Oh, okay. Humanomics 101 or watch out. Shifting Paradigms. Oh, my goodness. What'd you say, senior? What'd you say, senior? Higher, I forget what you said. Senior Moments with Mildred Walker. Outstanding. You better, without a doubt. Now, that's something about which you will not have a senior moment. Believe that. So we thank you very much for listening to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org. And as we bring it to a proper close, let me turn it over now to your announcer, DeQuay Wilson.
Alas, to close today's Wave Your Grades program, our host will recite one of his daily year-round morning motivational messages for students. In honor of our troops, I am DeQuay Wilson. Here is Carl Boyd.
And by the way, as I was exchanging with Louis George Walker, there was a little banter and we were smiling. However, very seriously, the KUAW.org lineup is the envy not only of urban contemporary radio stations, but stations who enjoy a presence on the internet worldwide. So we thank KUAW for allowing us to be here. To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, August 15th. If you cannot believe that going to school is as important as going to war, imagine a general who cannot read. My name is Carl Boyd for Wave Your Grades. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.